Welcome into No Pun Intended, presented by Club Fantasy. It is episode 6 of our Look Inside series, and we have entered Las Vegas Raider territory, folks. Another team, another new coach, and another new offense. The first three teams could really learn from these previous three that we have talked about in terms of hiring a new coaching staff, because bringing back the same one doesn't do you any good. But here we go. We're going to talk about the Raiders. Pete Carroll, the head coach, and they have some very interesting and very high-profile fantasy players that you'll want to target in your drafts coming up. Let's get into it. Welcome into Why Is It Just Me?
Because you didn't flip it.
You flip it, ding dong.
Well, sorry.
Yeah.
Doing other things.
You're the one that flips it.
You yell at me all the time when I push too many buttons because you're the host. So I'm like, you know what? Whatever.
You're the one that always flips it. So I'm yelling at you now for not pressing the damn button.
There you go. Chaos.
Dinky. Raiders.
Yeah, boy.
Still don't like that they're the Las Vegas Raiders. They've lost all of their edge. So you know what they did? They brought in this 75-year-old white guy to bring their edge back. A gum chewer, a spitter. And then they said, you know what? Chip Kelly. Let's add him in the mix too. Why not?
Yeah, makes a ton of sense.
Chip Kelly worries me just a smidge because he basically got run out of the league for being a dick.
Yeah.
And
no.
So
Chip Kelly
by all
looks like
accounts,
a nice guy.
No, it's just how he handled pros coming from college and this
exactly
whole, like, egocentric, like my offense is bet, that whole thing. But by all accounts, a lot of the noise out of camp, especially from beat reporters, is that he's definitely mellowed out some, that he's not the same offensive coordinator, which if the plays were the same, it's a good thing because he had a very good system in the pros, but it's how he handled himself with the players that basically got him sent right back to college.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see how it goes in the NFL again for one Mr. Chip Kelly, because he has some fun, I want to say tools, but that just feels wrong to call, people tools unless Weapons. They truly are one. But he has some fun gadgets to play around with. Again, these are underdog ADP as of June 3rd. And if you use promo code WOFF, WOFF, you get a free pick, first time deposit match up to $1,000. Your ADP, Geno Smith, the new quarterback for your Las Vegas Raiders, quarterback 26 currently, because Geno Smith is bad. Yeah. That's why he's that low. RB1 is Ashton Jeanty, who's the RB4 overall. Raheem Mostert backs him up, and Sasir McCormick is the RB3. Wide receiver 1 is Jacoby Myers. He is wide receiver 42, not being drafted very high as the wide receiver 1. Trey Tucker is the wide receiver 2 at 92, and Jack Bech out of TCU, the wide receiver 75, and Dante Thornton Jr. Sure, never heard of that name until I just read it off the script. He's wide receiver 118. Yeah. Welcome to the league, Dante.
Yeah, boy.
Happy to have you here. Never heard of you, but hey, maybe you'll make Ryan's stream of the week one week. Who knows?
I don't stream wide receivers, but he is big, so I like him.
So there you go. He's this year's who is
A.T. Perry, dog.
Thank you, A.T. Perry. I could not think of the name. You want to know why I couldn't think of the name? Because
he's out of the fucking league.
He didn't play a single fucking down in 2024. That's why. The tight end won. Brock Bowers. And
that's for the team and for the world.
And for the league. He is the tight end 1. And then Michael Mayer. I read it quickly and didn't see the 1, so I was like, no way he's the tight end 4. There's no way. He's the tight end 41, folks, Mr. Michael Mayer. Remember when didn't he go to Notre Dame?
He did.
Yeah, remember when everybody was so hype? Like, oh, baby, Michael Mayer, second-round pick. Look out. Nope. There's another white guy that's better than him. So take that, Michael Myers. Brock Bowers is the tight end 1. Jeanty. Those are your 2 big fantasy assets. Ryan, I'll just let you start overall expectations for the team.
Yeah, it's confusing right now because, as Josh pointed out, we don't know who Chip Kelly is. I tend to struggle with these college offensive coordinators coming back to the league. Obviously, we've said Ohio State runs a very pro-ready system. Kelly was there for, I think, 2 years, and obviously only 1 year. See, so like a lot of the guys we like this year coming out, Kelly was involved, but again, I don't know what to read into it. When I do my projections, I go back to the last time they were a play caller in the league. And for Kelly, that was going all the way back to 2016 and 2015 with San Francisco and Philadelphia. I don't know how much we can take from that. First of all, in Philadelphia, he threw the ball 39 times per game. In San Francisco, only 31. He did run the ball about 29 times per game for both teams. So the takeaways are just very, very rough. So when I have a team like this, I focus on the superstars. I love what Brock Bowers is going to do. I love what Ashton Jeanty is going to do. I'm very, very nervous about everybody else.
Josh?
Ryan, you said it perfectly. That's basically where I'm at with this. The one thing I do know, he's not going to be afraid to throw the deep ball.
No.
So Trey Tucker's speed will come into play. Dante Thornton Jr., if he's able to grasp this offense, his speed will come into play. They're not going to be high target earners, but they will be big time when it comes to yards per reception and getting chunk yards. He's going to set up the pass with a strong running game. That's why they spent the 6th overall pick on Ashton Jeanty. The thing is that he's targeted the tight end position, but he's never had a tight end like Brock Bowers. And Brock Bowers basically said, you're going to build your offense around me. So everything else is Brock Bowers, it's Ashton Jeanty, and then, like you said, nobody fucking knows. But he loves a slant route. That's what I do know. And that's why you draft Jack Bech, because he's a big target in the middle of the field. So I kind of worry about Jakobi Meyers' upside for 2025, because I think if Jack Bech actually comes in and plays really damn well, you could see a situation where they look to move on from Jakobi Meyers in the middle of the season because they just don't have a fit for him in the system.
Send him back, please. Please. I'm begging you, send him back. Bench Demario Douglas. Give us back Jakobi Meyers, the man that we rightfully deserved. Instead, chose Juju fucking Smith-Schuster over this guy. Oh, please send Jakobi Meyers back to New England. I would love that. We'll go down player by player. I don't know what more you want to talk about with Brock Bowers, Ryan, but
I guess the thing I just recently wrote an article for Football Guys about, I always get nervous when a guy goes the jump that Brock Bowers just did. 10th round ADP as the tight end 10, up to having the one of the better seasons, or the best season. What was it? The best rookie season and the 3rd best tight end season ever is what Brock Bowers put out there as a rookie. Now he's being drafted as the tight end 1 unanimously, and you're probably going to have to pay a 1st or at the very least an early 2nd round pick to get him. Is the return on investment going to be there? And the answer is absolutely yes. They are going to force feed Brock Bowers. And one of the things I noticed is I think there's positive touchdown regression that we could see. I think he only scored 4 touchdowns last year, despite, catching every ball thrown his way, seemingly such a high catch rate as a rookie. When I went back and looked at Kelly's systems, big guys score touchdowns in these systems. Whether it was the tight end by committee when he was with San Francisco, I think they scored 7 touchdowns that year. In Philadelphia, it was Ertz. I think maybe Goddard, but certainly Ertz. Goddard wasn't there
Brent
yet.
Selleck, right?
Yeah, Selleck. There you go. Selleck was with him actually in San Francisco, but it was Ertz. But then Josh has made this comparison for a while, and I actually used it in my article. Jordan Matthews sizes up very, very well to Brock Bowers. And Jordan Matthews was a 100 target guy for 3 consecutive seasons and found the end zone 15, 16 times in those 3 seasons. There is positive touchdowns that we could start seeing heading Brock Bowers' way. And I don't think we're going to see the target share drop at all. If you were worried about, because interesting stat I found, since 2020, no tight end has repeated since the tight end 1. Even if they fall, though, they don't fall out of the top 5. So Brock Bowers is likely to return on investment no matter what. He is worth your late your late first round pick, your early second round pick.
But the thing is, Ryan, when we take tight ends that early, it's because of the positional advantage, right? Yeah. So if he's falling out of that one spot to the top 5,
then he's not worth
investment at that. That's
absolutely
exactly not. Like he has to stay in that top 2, really.
But I think
and be a point, 2 full points per game above your next tier of tight ends. So I mean, there's definitely risk. Excuse me. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
No tight end is repeated in the last 5 years. Okay, no running back is repeated in the last 25 years.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's just Ryan pulled an ESPN stat out of his ass.
I did,
and said, "Here's."
I was pretty proud of myself for finding it. So fuck
yeah,
you,
that's like putting Thaddeus Young on the same graphic as LeBron, Magic, and Larry Bird. I remember that vividly. Why? Why is he on the same graphic? That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So yeah, that's a dumb little pull. Now, might he not finish as the 1 and McBride finishes as the 1? Sure.
Well, because McBride certainly needs to find some positive touchdown regression as well, because that was ugly last year.
Yes. So he'll find the end zone more, but Bauer.
And McBride, for everything about Geno, they are getting a quarterback upgrade here.
100%.
That duo of Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew was not good last year. They were not good.
No, you're dealing. Josh, I actually looked this up as well. I believe they completed 61% of their passes last year, and Geno was at like 68%. So just on that.
Yeah, Geno has been a completion percentage animal the last 3 years. He's been a starting quarterback. He's been in the high 68, 70% range. Like you get a guy like Brock Bowers with sure hands, Jacoby Myers with sure hands. Like he's going to be in that 70, 68, 69, 70% completion percentage again. And he's been over 4,000 yards, if I'm not mistaken, for the past, at least 2 of the last 3 years.
I know, yeah. So, at one point, he was leading the league in yardage.
So. Yeah. So really, at that point, is how many touchdowns is he going to throw? Because he only threw 21 last year, and for much of the year, he was only averaging 1 touchdown per game. So if he can get that even to 24,
I was going to say he still threw 2 more than the Raiders did last year. So.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. And that's really my biggest worry is how many touchdowns is Geno going to throw? Because, again, you draft Ashton Jeanty because he's likely going to be the guy that you're giving the football to in the red zone. So that right there limits any quarterback and receiving options touchdown upside at that point.
Looking at the other side of the football as well, I think this is not going to be an offense that is going to, I don't want to say be on the field as much or needing to throw as much. Their defense isn't bad.
I say on paper, it's an improving defense.
Well, and Pete Carroll's always had good defenses.
Well, yes. Well, here's the thing. His secondary is great. Eric Stokes, they got from Green Bay. He's okay. Jeremy Chin is a nasty pickup. That is going to be that's going to be like the Earl Thomas equivalent in this defense. Jeremy Chin is going to absolutely rake. Landon Roberts is terrible, but he's a great tackler. And Devin White, why is he available? What happened to Devin White? So Devin White now runs the weak side he now runs the Malcolm Smith role in a Pete Carroll defense. Thanks.
Should work out well.
Thanks. Love that. And then not to mention Max Crosby. That's all you need. Really, that's all Pete Carroll needs is Max Crosby. So
and they brought in that nose tackle last year. So
Christian Wilkins, yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Who, Anthony Pierce did not get usage out of his defense at all.
No.
But I bring that up because Ashton Jeanty is obviously in the backfield, and he will get plenty of opportunity and run here this season, Josh.
Yeah, so, Joe, you're probably not going to like this point, but I'm fading Ashton Jeanty at price.
Yeah, okay.
At price. I'm not saying that he's not going to finish as
not
RB1.
even a bad price.
Well, RB4, when you look at it, that's going to be for some – when you get into traditional redraft mode in August, this is going to be a mid-first round pick. Not a late first, not an early second. This is going to be a mid-first round pick.
That's fine.
Ashton Jeanty is an absolutely terrible pass blocker. And we talk about this all the time when it comes to young running backs. You will be taken off the field if you are going to get your quarterback killed. Yeah. And Geno Smith is going to throw the football. So especially early on in the season, don't be surprised if we see a lot of Raheem Mostert if he's able to stay healthy early on. Now, let's not forget, too, when Bijan Robinson was a first round or a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. We drafted him as the RB3, and then he finishes the RB17 in points per game.
He had Arthur Smith as his coach. Let's put that in there.
I'm not saying
he
I'm not
had
trying
nuts
to
for
compare
brain as a
apples to
coach.
apples here. They're not the same, and I get that. But for the Arthur Smith holding back Bijan Robinson, Ashton Jeanty he racked up 2,600 yards, mostly against Mountain West competition.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a learning curve running behind the 26th ranked offensive line from 2024, mind
They
you.
got Alex Kappa.
No.
What do you mean? They got Alex Kappa.
I think
they have
Colt
some
Miller.
challenges on that offensive line, which will slow down the early part of the season at minimum for Ashton Jeanty. You're going to have a lot of fantasy owners very, very upset early in the season, and hopefully it gets better. What will save Ashton Jeanty is the sheer volume, because I fully expect him to touch the football well over 300 times.
And so that's where I was going to go with it. And I think my other issue is, Josh, something that you had written your Saquon Barkley article about, is the other backs that I would have to invest in that early. There's red flags there as well. For
That's
me, Bijan is the 1, Gibbs is the 2, and Jeanty is the 3, because I have the least amount of questions about Bijan and Gibbs. And then Jeanty, I agree, there are questions, but there's no more questions about Jeanty than there are about Saquon Barkley coming off this insane volume season, Derrick Henry coming off of a high volume season for the 800th time in a row, and he's older. There are enough questions that are going to push me away from other backs that I'll take the gamble. And obviously, if the gamble falls all the way to RB17, you're not getting the return on investment. But if the gamble's RB12 when I spent RB3 money on him, I'm not mad at Ashton Jeanty. And I expect, if you're saying he's a mid first round pick, I expect I'm going to have Ashton Jeanty on a lot of teams this year.
When you get into when you get into August and you're doing your home leagues, he's going to be a top 7 pick. I would wager that.
That's fine. And I'll draft him there. I don't care. Could LaShawn McCoy pass block?
Yeah.
Could he? Okay, I was just checking. I don't know. I have no idea. That was me checking. So I did not. I was 10.
No,
I did not
and that's the thing. This system is really good for running backs. I mean, you look at LaShawn McCoy had over 1,300 yards twice, actually. Like,
did he have Brian Westbrook, or was that the end? That was the end of Westbrook's career.
No, he had McCoy and then traded him for a freaking middle linebacker.
Yeah, because they couldn't get along with each other.
And then went out and signed DeMarco Murray after a 400 touch season.
Well, wasn't McCoy the one who kind of blew the whistle on that Chip Kelly didn't know how to handle? I think just to use McCoy's words, I think it was he said he didn't know how to handle black athletes. So.
Yeah. I mean, in 3 consecutive seasons, we lost.
Problem. Great for Brock
Djax, McCoy, and Jeremy Maclin, and those were like the cornerstones of the Eagles at that time.
So literally, Jack Bech and Brock Bowers to the moon.
Exactly.
Chip Kelly's the coach,
and it's Bech, Joe.
Bech. It's fine. He hasn't caught a fucking pass. I'll know his name when he catches the pass. All right.
But no, I definitely
TCU.
Yeah, I definitely pick up what you're saying, Josh. It's just, again, with these picks, certainly in the first round, I'm going running back, and I'll take the gamble on a guy who what was it? 200 yards and 4 touchdowns a game as a senior. So
here we go. So Saquon's
just saying, if you read off the list of Mountain West running backs that pile up yards like that do anything in the NFL, like they're non-existent. That to me is still, it's a big worry. It truly is. I'm well aware. Mountain West, Joe. LeGarrette Blount played at Oregon.
Jay Ajayi played at Boise State.
Boise State, correct.
Okay, my bad. I was thinking when LeGarrette Blount.
I'm talking about like the elite of the elite. Like, there has been a lot of 2,000-yard rushers. I mean, look at Donnell Pumphrey. Look at Rashard Penny. Like, there's been some guys that have racked up yards in those divisions or conferences, and have come to the NFL and done next to nothing. Now, I will say that I think a lot of Penny's issues were more injury related, because he averaged big chunks and the injuries just wore him down.
None of those guys were a first round pick.
Rashard Penny went in the first round.
At the end of the first round.
Yeah.
To who? To which team?
to Pete Carroll in Seattle.
To Pete Carroll. How bad was Pete Carroll at drafting in the first round?
Well, that's not
pretty bad.
That's not
actually
saying
not true because he
hold on now. That's not proving the point that Ashton Jeanty doesn't suck.
But he's the top. He's a top 10 pick, and that was general unanimous. Rashad Penny was not a unanimous first round pick.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. LJ Collier was Pete Carroll's first round pick. That man was a fourth rounder on everybody's draft board.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's my point. Pete Carroll's third round picks, unbelievable. Pete Carroll's first round picks, horrible because he reaches.
Well, there's your glowing red flag on Ashton Jeanty then, right?
Yeah, okay.
now I'm nervous.
Saquon's the 1, Bijan's 2, Jahmyr Gibbs is 3, Jeanty's 4. That's how it lays right now.
Okay.
I don't think any of us are taking Jeanty over any of those 3. You could maybe argue Saquon if you don't love. I know, Ryan, you're not loving.
I'm taking him over Saquon.
Yeah, and that's fine. I know some people won't, some people will. This offensive player of the year and this Maddox, it's all shaping up to not be well for Saquon, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs, I don't know many people taking Jeanty over him unless you're a Raiders fan or a Boise State fan. I don't think that's going to happen. Christian McCaffrey or Ashton Jeanty.
Like the last time we did this was for Josh. Or for me, this one's for Josh because I'm taking Jeanty over every name you mentioned.
Jeanty.
I do have CMC over Jeanty.
Yeah, you're big on CMC this year.
Listen, I'm gonna get both of them on my team. So that's all I know.
I don't think people are really being scared off of CMC right now. Like we all kind of assume they would be because a fantasy manager scorned, like don't mess with that. Like they will hold a grudge till doomsday. But like
Alvin Kamara,
I don't think people are really doing that with CMC right now. Like
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like when they threw around tendonitis last year, like that scared the bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
But the thing is like a healthy CMC is going to rake in this offense. Like we've seen he is outscored. Like his best season in San Francisco was better than Saquon last year. Was better than Jahmyr Gibbs last year. Like that is the potential there, and we're seeing this like older running back renaissance of late. So, like, even the fact that he's going to be 29 this season doesn't scare me that much.
I love McCaffrey. I will take Jeanty on the clock right now as it sits in June. I'm taking Jeanty over McCaffrey. That could change in September when I draft, but that's how it sits. Jeanty or Derrick Henry?
Ashton Jeanty.
Jeanty.
I do have Jeanty 2 spots ahead of Henry.
Jeanty or Devon Achane?
I already know Josh's answer. For me, it's Jeanty.
I'm Devon Achane to the fucking moon this year. He's my RB2.
Devon Achane will get no yards on the ground. He's going to have 7,000 receptions. I'm still taking Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty or Jonathan Taylor?
Ashton
Jeanty, easily.
Jeanty. Then you Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Kieran Williams, Breece Hall.
I mean, Genty's my RB5. Like, I'm not.
What I'm saying is like
pouring that much water on it. But I'm just
there.
saying, like, to me, when you look at like those guys that are currently going in that top 6, 7, 8, you can make the case that he is the biggest trap.
I think you bring up the interesting point because we kind of, to tie everything together, you mentioned the fantasy manager scorned, but John Robinson scorned some fantasy managers. So there are going to be drafters who are going to be like, I'm not playing this rookie running back game again. Certainly if Saquon Barkley's there because everybody wants the 2,000-yard back. So.
Yeah, but now he's on the cover of Madden, so people are going to be like, "Oh,
that's true
sorry,
too."
I'm out on Saquon. So,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. The Madden curse is tough, especially at the running back position, and apparently this Offensive Player of the Year curse. I don't know if you guys saw that too.
I haven't heard the offense.
No, I haven't seen that one.
So,
yeah, Offensive Player of the Year curse. The last 5 Offensive Player of the Years, I believe, none of them have played more than half the season.
So
they've all had a significant injury.
Right, so loading back, up on Will Shipley and dart throws. And
at a running back, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. You run these guys to the ground, they get fucking hurt the next year. Like, it's not an actual curse. It's math.
It's math. And yeah, it's biology.
And yet somehow Derrick Henry has stood the test of time.
Yeah. But Henry after his, didn't he win Offensive Player of the Year? I'm pretty sure he won. And that was the next year he missed, I think, 9 games.
He did miss half the season. Yeah. The year that he went 2,000 yards, he missed half the season. And he was on pace to obliterate the amount of carries that he had. Yeah.
Destroy. Yeah. I think he had 1,200 yards through 8 games. Like he was crushing it. So yeah, but yes, you run a guy into the ground.
I do think that they're going to lighten Saquon's load.
I haven't read it yet
this year.
This episode's airing next week, so this will already be out on Football Guys. But someone is writing, I think it's Corey Spalla, is writing a article on the Madden curse, and he is taking his time to dig in to see how real it is. But I think what he's going to find is it's about volume, as Josh discussed in his Saquon article. This is not about being on the cover of Madden. This is about previous year's volume. You earned the cover of Madden because of what you did the year before.
For the running backs, I agree, is that yes, normally like Sean Alexander had 27 touchdowns this year. He had 9 the rest of his career. Peyton Hillis, Peyton Hillis is the crazy Madden curse. But then you have Calvin Johnson, horrible, like almost the rest of his career, he kind of went downhill. Tom Brady was fine. He's a GOAT. Antonio Brown went fucking nuts. He literally went nuts. The double cover, ever since Madden 10, which was the duo cover of Polamalu and Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
It's been pretty bad. The Madden curse has been pretty steady since that point in time.
Again, I haven't.
And like even EA caught wind of it, and they like completely shifted. Like they went, what was it, like a 2 or 3 year stretch?
No, they went Barry Sanders
like
in 2013. They went
players and stuff.
In 2013, it was the 25th anniversary of Madden. They put Barry Sanders on the cover because literally it was Peyton Hillis and then Calvin Johnson. Are like, what the fuck are we doing? So then they went to Barry Sanders, went back to it again. Another curse. Does it make sense? No. There's absolutely no statistical thing that makes sense. Like, why does Larry Fitzgerald suck the next year? Or he missed a lot of games. Is it a curse? No. It's just a weird coincidence that keeps fucking happening. The running it into the ground for the running backs, yes. If you make the cover of Madden, it's because you had 1,800 yards and 20 plus touchdowns.
Your team tried to kill you the year before.
Literally, your team tried to murder you on the field. Like, that's why. So that one makes more sense than it would for, say, a quarterback, even a defensive player, because they're already getting beat up every game anyway. But yes. Training camp battle to watch is the wide receiver 2. This is not a battle. I don't know. Is this just the talking point?
Well, I say it's a battle for a couple of reasons. One, Tucker actually had a very quiet 80-plus target season last year.
I say, as someone who invested a lot in Trey Tucker as a rookie, I do realize what he did last year, and I think he is a mildly underrated piece in this offense.
Yeah, so, and again, he's going against a second-round rookie, so to me, that is a legitimate battle, especially when you look at the current regime has no investment in Tucker. They do in Bech, but what can Tucker do to hold off Bech's ascension, so to speak? Like, I'm not saying that I
run a 4.340. That's what he can do.
Well, and like I said, I like this offense. It values downfield throws, so I think Tucker can have a role, and I do think Bech can carve out his own role. And they're not fighting like for the X spot or the Z spot. Like one is, I do think Bech is mostly going to be the slot, and I think Tucker is going to run on the outside. Yeah. But in terms of target share, in terms of pecking order of the targets, like we know it's Bowers, we know it's Myers. Does Jeanty get that third rung? Does Tucker continue to see the kind of target volume he did last year? Does Bech sneak in and just do Bech things? Like, I think it's a legitimate thing to watch. Like, their ADPs, both of them are so depressed. Like, Bech is 75-92 for Tucker. But like, if you're spending the 75 on Bech and Tucker wins, I mean, you wasted a 10th, 11th, 12th round pick, I guess, probably.
What I do find interesting though, Josh, is because I've been thinking about this myself, is Deontay Thornton, or Dante, I don't know how to pronounce the name properly, but Dante Thornton adds an interesting element to this because he is also an outside guy. And if this is what he's looking for, Thornton's going to remind Pete Carroll a lot more of DK Metcalf than Trey Tucker is. 100%. Trey Tucker's 5'9", 185 pounds. Tucker was a third-round pick, so I picked up a lot of him because he was one of those guys that nobody wanted, even though he was a third-round pick. So I was able to get him in like the 5th round of a bunch of rookie drafts. So he's on a ton of my taxi squads right now. And last year, I had to use him in a league or two, and he had a couple weeks here or there. It was certainly nothing you were happy about. But his role is more established, but it's established now with a staff that's no longer there. And I think training camp, I do think there's a battle, Joe, but I don't think it's Bech. I think it's actually Thornton and Tucker that are competing. So
how I see the second receiver in this offense is a slot guy, and that's where Bech is going to be.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think Tucker's a deep threat. He's a good deep threat.
Very much so.
Yeah, he's a very good deep threat. But that's not that's Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is not a wide receiver 2. Gabe Davis is a deep threat complement. He's not a wide receiver 2. That's what Trey Tucker is. He's tiny. Trey Tucker is not running a. You said he. What's the name? Chip Kelly loves slants. 5'9", 180 ain't going over the middle.
You're gonna get folded in half if you run slants.
6'1", 215. That can go over the middle. So that's where I think Bech wins and beats him out. And same thing, like Myers is going to run slants across the formation as well. So you're gonna have those guys, and Tucker's going to go deep. Like that's going to be your deep threat. I don't see the battle whatsoever. They're not battling for the same job. That's it. They're not battling for the same job.
It's not apples to apples. It's
I see what you're saying,
target
Josh.
share. That's what I'm talking
about.
Target
share, yeah.
And I would put my money on a guy going over the middle and playing within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage instead of a guy playing within 30. Target guy. And we've already established apparently that Chip Kelly is racist. So this is an easy conversation. Apparently we've established this. I was 10. Racism went right over my head when they were talking Chip Kelly on SportsCenter in the morning. I don't remember these conversations. So apparently he's racist, and Jack Bech is going to be on all my rosters for the sole reason
there's
that
the
Chip Kelly's
takeaway
racist.
from the Raiders episode.
Yeah. This is the one takeaway, is that the white guys in Chip Kelly's offense are going to absolutely destroy.
God, I hope we're very wrong about this, because I do not want to carry this conversation into next season.
No, I don't either. But it's going to be. Do we think Chip Kelly has a job?
Let's just end this. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Do we think Chip Kelly has a job if that does happen? Look, I love it for Brock Bowers. I have him in Dynasty.
Nah, I mean, like, again, it's. I think what Chip Kelly was 10 years ago is probably not who he is now, and calling him racist is very much a joke and not what they were saying. I just don't think he knew how to handle professional athletes, plain and simple. The thing about college
now,
football,
all the college players are professional athletes with
words
how
out of
much
my
money they're making. So
words out of my mouth. So I think Chip Kelly's probably different. It's time to give him a chance in the NFL. And again, it wasn't flat out blatant racism accusations. I want to be very clear. It was that he didn't know how to handle black athletes, and that's kind of what Shady McCoy said. So
yeah, and in the jokingness of the show, that's
I say we need to clear that up a little bit.
Yeah,
we went
that's
far.
That's what we're going for there. Best bets, top 3 favorites. Josh, you have Geno plus 250 for 4,000 passing yards. He's surpassed it the last 2 years, correct?
2 of the last 3 years, he's surpassed it. So, I mean, I think it's pretty easy money, honestly, especially when you factor in that Chip Kelly's going to throw the football. I mean, dude, he turned Nick Foles into a household name before the Super Bowl. 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Like, let's not forget that.
One interception, I thought.
No, it was 2.
Okay, because I thought it was 27-1, which is the greatest touchdown to interception ratio in NFL history. With a minimum, I could have sworn it was 1 interception. Could have sworn. Could be wrong. While you look that up, Brian, you have Ashton Jeanty for the most rushing yards. This is obviously amongst the entire NFL, correct? Yep. Plus 2,200 on Caesars and 1,800 on FanDuel.
And a lot of this came from, again, I hate to keep crediting Josh's article, but I'm going to again. When you look at the step back from guys who had as many yards as like Saquon and Derrick Henry had last year, they are likely to step back to the 1,400 yard-ish range in their yardage. Mm-hmm. And if he gets the volume we think he's going to get, I could see Saquon easily beating that as a rookie, and there's not going to be a ton of competition. Jonathan Taylor's major competition for this, but I do think Ashton Jeanty could walk away with this pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, there was 6 or 7 running backs last year at the top 1,400 yards.
Yeah.
And 2 of them obviously cleared 1,900, but I mean, there's still a pretty healthy gap. So, I mean, those 2 are likely going to regress. So if the others make a bit of a jump, and now
you can
got
make a case
coming in, like
you can make a case against everybody except for Bijan Robinson, really, because Bijan Robinson seeded carries that I think he will eventually stop seeding. But like Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously Monty missed some time last year. Josh Jacobs is getting older at 1,300. But yeah, Josh, you're right. It was 5 guys who are above 1,400 yards last year.
It's a good bet for that money.
For that payout, I'm good with it. I might. I mean, honestly, if I might throw a full 100 on that one if I had the money to waste. So,
yeah. I said this in the Giants episode for Brian Burns to lead the league in sacks. I'm okay if you wanted to throw Max Crosby in there. The odds on Crosby are going to be a lot lower.
Yeah, far worse than Brian Burns.
Far worse than Brian Burns. So what I will say for Crosby is you can find his over on tackles and maybe lean there. And his over on sacks too. He's going to hit the over on his sacks. I just think Burns gets more than him. So
that's fair.
Obviously they're going to be closer money, but yeah, Max Crosby should destroy in this defense, and Jeremy Chin as well. The over on his tackles. He is going to be, as I said, the Earl Thomas in this defense, and that is something you want in fantasy football. Very much so.
Absolutely.
Gents, that's it. The Raiders, 6 episodes in. Gonna be a good team. This will be a fun team, hopefully.
I think so.
Hopefully. Maybe, who knows? Maybe Chip Kelly can turn Geno into Mike Vick. Eagles Mike Vick. Who knows?
Get him running that ball around.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing separating them is elite athleticism and speed. But other than that...
and arm talent.
Hey. Yeah.
Yeah. We have not seen Michael Vick arm talent.
I'll never forget. Was it Josh? You know this was the Monday Night Football game against the Redskins, where it was play action, first play of the game,
and Deshaun Jackson.
Yes, Vic threw it. I think 70 yards in the air to Deshaun effortlessly. Just flicked his wrist. I will. That
man had
never
an
forget
absolute
that.
cannon.
Absolutely. And then he did it in Pittsburgh. Didn't he hit Mike Wallace or somebody on like a 60-yard bomb? The man was 38 or something throwing that football like that.
Yeah, make
lefty.
good decisions. Make good decisions, kids. Change your lives.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please don't fight dogs, and you could be better off.
You could be one of the best to ever do it.
You'd be the best left-handed quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah,
you just don't fight dogs.
Oh, Jesus.
Beautiful. No, I just love. I'm excited. It should be a fun offense.
I think so. I think it's gonna again. Sometimes these college offenses are great for fantasy, and sometimes they fall on their face. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but they certainly have 2 of the best weapons to do it.
They're normally good for fantasy. They end up sucking in real life.
Yeah. So
because they can't convert when they need to, but like they do the fun things and they get it done. Yeah. Not when they need to, though. For Josh, Ryan, myself, you can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. URL, clubfantasyffl.com. Who's next, Josh?
The New York Football Jets.
Well, there was no baseball Jets.
I was going to say, he said football. I was like, wait, didn't we do the Giants?
We already did the Giants. Can't wait to talk about that team. Oh, baby. Last place in the AFC East incoming for the New York Jets. We will see you on the